one of a question of the Ferrers sport. So as you can see,
yeah, no worry.
PE teacher and head of PE, and I just want to sort of get a bit of an insight into elite sport, because it's all right us talking about it as teachers, but when it's coming from the horse's mouth as such, it is a little bit more poignant and a little bit better for our students, I believe. So obviously for those people that might not know you, I do. I watch a lot of boxing, as I said to you the other day. Tasha Jonas here with Mr. Arnold. Tasha recently fought for the WBC and IBO World Super Featherweight titles. Got a draw. Some may say won, but we're not going to go into that, are we, Tasha?
No.
Obviously a stellar amateur career, and coming out of the famous Rotunda ABC, which obviously is massive up in Liverpool and across the UK in the amateur boxing scene, and first ever female British boxer to qualify for the Olympic Games and the World Championships in China. So could you just share, first of all, a little bit about your journey from walking into that boxing gym all the way up to fighting for WBC and IBO world titles?
Yeah, in short, I started boxing not by mistake, but a lady had pestered me to go, and she pestered me and I really didn't want to go. I'd come home. I was on a football scholarship in America, got injured, and that meant the end of my football career. So I was still kind of down about the football and didn't really want to do anything else. But she pestered me. I ended up going. Obviously, that was the Rotunda, and that was 15 years ago. I just loved it. As soon as after my first session, it was tough, it was hard, but it was the first time for a long time that I challenged myself. Obviously, it's a lot different to football because you don't have to rely on anybody else in your as part of your team. It's just about, what you put in is what you'll get out. And I like that idea, even though I've always been team-based in mostly team-based sports. It was nice to have some ownership on your own. I was one of them people that I always believe that in everything I do, I try 100%. So sometimes it used to frustrate me that I could see that some people on my team weren't doing the same. So boxing for me was perfect. I won an ABA title in my first year, which basically means you're the champion of England. When you're the champion of England, you start training with England and you start going to tournaments. And obviously I was doing that for a few years before in 2009, they decided for the first time it was ever going to be an Olympic sport for females. And obviously then GB had to make a team. So then you have to go to assessments, and, I think 57 people went to the assessments, and there was only places for 9 funded athletes. And I was one of the 9 athletes that got on the programme. And obviously from 2009 then till 2012, you're training as a full-time funded athlete, as part of the Olympic squad, and your sports, UK sport funded. So
yeah, so obviously how's that transition from the amateur game to the pro? How have you found that transition, and how's that journey been for you?
I had a long time out. I got injured in the Commonwealth Games in 2016. Just a freak fall, and it meant that I snapped 2 ligaments in my toe. I decided to get an operation to repair that, which meant I missed the qualifiers for 2016 Rio. And from that, I was at the stage in my life, I was a bit older by this time, and I decided to have my little girl. So that meant I was out the ring for 2 years, and then the opportunity just came about to go professional, and I took it. I think, especially in sports, the opportunities are very limited. So you've got to take the opportunities when they come. And it's better to look back and say, I did it and it didn't work out, than to look back and think, what if, or but, what it is for me anyway.
Yeah, no, like I say, it looks like from your story, you've had a couple of opportunities that have fallen your way and you've sort of grabbed them with both hands. And that's exactly what obviously we want to hear. So next thing, what motivates you, and has this changed from the start of your career, whether it was football or boxing, all the way through to now?
I think that, my mum told the story once I'd qualified that when I was 4, I watched the Olympic Games for the first time, and I was very sporty from a young age. We was encouraged to be active and be out. And I watched the Olympic Games, the games in Seoul in '88. And I said to my mum, I want to be there. Now, I didn't know that. And obviously it took me 24 years to even get there. But I suppose from that, I always had a drive and a belief that I wanted to be a somebody, and not necessarily, I'm not talking about fame or, money in that sense. I'm talking about, I knew I had a bit of a talent. I wasn't brilliant at anything, but I was very good at a lot of things. So I knew I had a talent, and I wanted to pursue that talent. And for me, I come from Toxteth, it's a predominantly working class, highly, underfunded and undereducated, and all these things. And I never wanted to fit into a stereotype of where I was from, or be pushed into a certain type of thing just because of who I was and where I was from. I always wanted to challenge that and break barriers down and push the bar, and I think I have done that.
Oh, perfect. No, that's exactly obviously what we want to hear. Those people that are, again, sort of challenging stereotypes and trying to sort of go one step further than what they sort of are perceived to be able to achieve. So that's great. What was your biggest inspiration growing up? Obviously, you mentioned the Seoul Olympic Games when you were younger, but was there a certain person or people in your life that you thought, oh, I'm going to be like them, or I want to do what they've done?
My first ever sporting hero, I'd probably say, was the likes of Sally Gunnell, British wise, but then on a international, and I suppose it's not great now because she ended up being a dope cheat, but it was Marion Jones. And I loved the way that she went from basketball to athletics, and crossed over and was still a great athlete. But from a perspective now, Tanya Gray Thompson is one of my heroes. She was probably the first para athlete that I ever watched, and actually made me want to watch the Paralympics. And I think, even after her career is finished, she's used her platform to have a positive impact for, many people in her situation and beyond. And I think that it's really important that if you do have a platform and you are able to use it for positive things, that you should.
That's superb. That's absolutely amazing. Obviously, a variety of people, which again is sort of where we want to be at. Both obviously Paralympians, obviously Olympians, but also different people around you and your surround obviously have helped you get on your way. What's been your greatest sporting achievement or moment within boxing?
There's two. Probably because I didn't get a medal. I think qualifying for the Olympics was special. As I say, when I did qualify, I'd done hours and hours of TV interviews because I was the first person in the team. So you have to go through this media zone, and I'm there for hours, just thank you, thanks to everybody. And when I was emotional, but I held it together. And when I went back to the changing room, my mum was there in floods of tears. And when I was hugging her, and I started crying then, and I was like, Mum, what are you crying for? And she was like, I remember you being that little 4-year-old saying I was going to be, that you wanted to be there, and now you've done it, I'm so proud of you. So that was special, to have that moment with my mum. And then I think that the Terry Harper fight as a professional, there was a lot of, I got quite a lot of criticism and negativity, people saying I was too old, people saying I wasn't fit enough, people saying, I passed my best, people saying, they said a lot of things. And I was the only one that, me and Joe, to be fair, was the only one that was saying, right, okay, this is what you're saying, we'll see. I don't think she's better than me in any department. And for months and months, people were just heavily criticising me. And then the fight happened, and then it proved everyone wrong. So that was really special as well, because a lot of people had to eat their words.
Yeah, I suppose proving the doubters wrong. And I saw the odds on the night, and the odds were massively against you from the bookies. They were massively on Terry's favour. And obviously, it was almost sort of a foregone conclusion for the bookies to say, oh, it's Terry's night. Tasha's here just to be sort of a name on the card almost. And obviously, it was an amazing amazing evening. All the fights building up was phenomenal. I remember watching it in my front room, and like I say, we're not going to get into the crux of it, but it was hard to split, but it could have gone either way, couldn't it? And just on the back of that, obviously, as a boxing fan myself, and there are obviously many boxing fans up and down the country, it's now amazing to see women's boxing booming. What do you think's been the change from women shouldn't be boxing on live TV, pros, etc., all the way through to now people are really looking forward to these big fights? And like, Eddie Hearn did that night in his garden, put on an absolute super show in the summer.
I think we as athletes always knew how good it was at its highest level. We just needed the world to see it. I think the Olympics did that. You know, the uptake after the Olympics for females getting into the sport was massive. I think the continuation of that into the professionals, you know, people want to see people's journey. They want to see where the Olympic gold medalist goes and what they do. And it's a natural switch over for men. You know, after the Olympics, they go pro. That's the way it is. And it wasn't always the way for women. But now that is, you know, the opportunities are there. We are supported by big promoters like Eddie and like Frank Warren, like, you know, Al Heyman, like, you know, all of them top rank. So, you know, we've got the coverage, the TV coverage, which you also need, and the media coverage from the papers and press and whatever is positive. One of the biggest assets I think about women's boxing is that, you know, at the minute the pool isn't as we haven't got the depth in the sport yet as the men do, but everybody wants to fight everyone and they want to fight the best, and it's easy to do that. It's easy to make them fight, and I think that helps it grow because there's so much rivalry, even on our own shores and across the pond, that, you know, people want to see that, and that's what sells fights is, you know, them grudge matches or them domestic rivalries where you have to pick a side, a bit like Joshua Fury. You know, there's not going to be no one on the fence when that fight happens. You're going to have to pick a side, and that's what happens when there's a domestic rivalry, and we've got lots of talented boxers here.
No, I think it's absolutely fantastic, and obviously, as we spoke about earlier about role models, it'd be amazing for you guys at this moment in time to be the pioneers for those younger generation of female boxers walking into that gym thinking, "Oh, this is the sport I want to do. I want to be the next Tasha Jonas. I want to be the next IBO WBC champion of the world." So it's absolutely amazing. Now I'm just going to flick some.
Sorry, there's a clear pathway now that kids can see what they need to do that, and that wasn't the case when we started. I'm not saying that's because of us, but, you know, England boxing and GB boxing have structured plans, and, you know, now there is that depth in the sport. So when, you know, the 2020 lot or the 2021 now lot turnover, and then the next 2024 turnover, there is going to be that depth, but it is growing and it's moving in the right direction.
That's fantastic to hear. I'm just going to flip it obviously now to a bit more sort of lockdown-y type things. So how have you kept active at the top of your game during lockdown? I know it's slightly different for pros, but obviously it's still difficult with children at home, etc. So how have you kept that going?
It is tough because you haven't got used to all the provisions that you have. You know, I heavily rely on family members for childcare, and I don't have that at the minute because of the bubble situation. So it has been tough, but I as you say, we are professional athletes are allowed to still train. So I've got an uncle who owns a gym, and I've got a set of keys where I can go and train. And obviously the baby has to come in with me. And yeah, I get me programs sent to me from my strength and conditioning coach. I've got my diet sent to me from my nutritionist, and then I've got a food prep company that cook it for me. So it sounds like it's easy that I don't do much, but it can be hard work juggling that with actual real life and lockdown in itself. And, you know, we've had people knocking on the doors, police knocking on the doors as I'm training, that I you know, I've got to, like, yeah, I've got to say who I am and what I'm doing in the gym. So it is a bit different. It is a bit difficult, but, you know, even without that, in the first national lockdown in March, I was just doing bodyweight stuff here. I didn't have the luxury of having a bag. I've got nowhere to hang one, so it was just all bodyweight stuff, running, cycling. You know, there's a million ways you can keep yourself fit. You've just got to be inventive.
Yeah, and just be willing to do it, I suppose, isn't it? It's about adapting to that change of, right, this was my normal routine before lockdown and COVID. This is my new routine, and I'm just going to absolutely hammer that new routine to see where I can get.
Yeah,
Obviously,
and it's the same. It's the same if you know, when we was at GB or when we're at Joe's, we've all got access to everything that we want. But then, we went into the Matchroom hub, the bubble, and you're not allowed to move off site. So it's the same. You have to be able to adapt in any sense. When I was at GB, we've got, like I said, access to everything. Then you go to the middle of Russia in winter and -26 and you can't go outside. So then you have to be able to adapt your training to fit where you are. And that's just what you have to do.
Yeah, just on one of those points, I heard the bubble situation was very good and everybody loved the bubbles. What was it like being in that bubble with obviously opponents, other pros, press? What was that situation like?
It's different, but I think because I come from the GB kind of setup background, that it wasn't too different. We're at tournaments on GB every single month, and you're in the middle of nowhere half the time. So to be confined to your hotel or your hotel room isn't something that I've not experienced before. It is a little bit mad to be able to sit and eat your breakfast and face your opponent, but again, that's the same kind of thing when you're in tournaments away that you have to do. There's no getting away from it. So it was mad. There wasn't much to do. I mean, and because of the hotel, once you're in your hotel room, you're kind of in bed. So you was trying to just keep yourself awake and keep yourself moving half the time.
Yeah, cool. What's the best and worst thing about being a pro boxer?
I'll tell you, the worst thing is always making weight.
I can imagine that.
Yeah, I'm quite greedy, and a super featherweight is not a weight that's natural to me. Obviously, I deplete a lot to get to there. So yeah, making weight. The best thing, sparring, training. I just love seeing that I've improved me. So whether that's in S&C and I'm lifting heavier weights, whether that's in running and I'm getting either a better time or further distance, I like. I'm a person that likes to see progression, that likes to see that I'm pushing myself. So
yeah, it's almost like you like a constant challenge, which is similar to yourself and a lot of other people from down the country. We love to challenge ourselves and then obviously see the results of that challenge is even better, isn't it? Just linking on that, are there any special ingredients that you feel that you've got an advantage over others? So you mentioned your hard work, adaptation to change and stuff. Is there anything else that you think, I've got that in my locker? It might be your mental ability.
I think you definitely build up a resilience that, when you've competed at certain levels in sport. Not everything. When you read out accomplishments or things that you've done and things that you've won, it sounds so great, but there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears behind that. And what's mad is even in the Terry Harper fight, people only see the 20, 30 minutes that you're in the ring, but they don't see that the months and months of preparation that it took to get there. So resilience is definitely one, and just hard work, determination, all them buzzwords that people say, and I think the biggest one is the belief you have in yourself, because like I said, no one even wanted to entertain what I was saying, especially in the Harper fight, but it didn't matter because I believed it and Joe believed it. So as long as I believed it and I can see, I didn't need anybody else to see, and that's massive, I think, because sometimes the only person that can see the dream that you're aiming for is you. So it's hard to get other people to buy into it. But what I'm trying to say is you don't necessarily need that. As long as you can see it and you're willing to put the work in, you'll get it.
Yeah, perfect. And sort of our trust motto, we're part of a big multi-academy trust, is work hard, be kind, choose wise. And I think that we've covered all of that.
Okay. I didn't even know that either, so I wasn't.
No, genuinely, that is our motto, and I think those 3 words have been summed up really nicely in this morning's session, because you have mentioned about working hard, sort of choosing wisely, and obviously you with Joe Gallagher, obviously, which is obviously an amazing setup up there with the Smith brothers and many, many others. And how's that situation been around those type of guys and Joe each and every day?
I mean, Joe gets a lot of stick, but he's all for his fighters, and he's very meticulous in his planning. Joe's like obsessive, and we both read this Relentless book, and we were like, right, we can do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. And that's just Joe. But you have to match his energy, because if he wants it more than you, it's not going to work. So you have to want it as much and even more. And with the Smithson, I've trained with them from the only Smith I haven't been punched by is Paul. So I've come through the amateur ranks with the likes of Liam, Callum, Stephen, and I trained alongside them in the Rotunda. Obviously, Bellew, it's Crawler I've known for a very, very long time, and Jose Burton. Me and him were sponsored by the same company. So it wasn't when the first time I went into the Rotunda, it was a bit awkward, because I was walking into a male dominated environment, and even though football's like that, it wasn't the same. But it is the same as football in the sense of when you're I feel that when you're a female going into a male dominated sport, that you have to perform that little bit better to be recognized on the kind of the same level. So but by the time I'd gone, done all my amateur stuff and gone to Joe's, I knew the lads, and I wasn't a world champion or anything, but they recognised that and accepted that I was, part of the team, and it's good to be like that. And all throughout my amateur career and my professional career, I don't feel that I've been singled out as the female boxers or the girl boxers or the women boxers. We've always just been the boxers. So when I walked through the Thunder, we trained in our level and our skill. So you were novice, junior, senior, open, and that's the way we trained. When we went to GB, you trained in your weight class, and then obviously with Joe, I just train alongside the lads. So I've never been singled out as being different. And even though I know physically sometimes I can't do what they do, that doesn't mean I still don't push myself to try.
No, that's great to hear, and absolutely amazing that the GB set up in England and obviously the pro rank are all aligned, because that's obviously what we're looking for as sort of PE teachers, to align our curriculum with the boys and the girls together. So that's fantastic to hear that that's happening at the elite level. Just on, what are your goals for 2021? I know that hopefully won't have changed, and hopefully pro boxing will be back on. I know there's been a fight cancelled end of this January period, but hopefully fights will be back in the summer. Are there any aims and ambitions for you for the 2021 year?
Yeah, I said the same all along, to be honest. Anyone who's got a title from super feather to maybe welter, they're all in my sights. I don't care who it is. I'll take on anyone. Like I say, especially with times like there is now, you can have people test positive for COVID, people drop out through injuries. So I'm just going to keep myself ready. I haven't got anything planned. There isn't a fight lined up as of yet, but I'll be keeping myself fit when I know that fights are planned, so I can be called at the last minute if necessary.
Yeah, best of luck. Obviously, we'll be following your journey, and I'm pretty sure we'll have a lot of fans joining after this call. It's been absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Just last thing, if you could give one piece of advice to our students, what would it be?
I think I'd go back to what I said, work hard, try your best, never give up, but most of all is believe in yourself, even when no one else does.
Thank you, Tasha. It's been absolutely amazing. It's obviously a first part of a question of the Ferrers sport, so really is amazing to hear, obviously, insight, and I think our students are really, really going to benefit. And also, obviously, I think staff will be pleased to hear all of those things, because it is exactly what we're trying to do at our academy, and obviously it's all happening at the elite level, and you've been so successful by living and breathing our ethos and motto. So thank you very much for your time this morning.
Can I just say one thing as well? Sorry. Yeah. I know I'm overdoing it now.
All right.
But there's a part of my story where I wasn't very good academically. I was quite far behind. And the sport was the one thing that I did excel in, and that I loved to do, and that I was chosen to do. And my PE teacher, head of PE, would never choose me as a captain. And it used to wind me up that she wouldn't. Now, I haven't been in school for a very long time, but that one PE teacher comes to my fights still now to this day. And she was instrumental in changing my life, because I did ask her why she never chose me as captain. And basically she told me that my behaviour outside of PE, all I did was mess around, get in trouble, be on report, you know, getting suspended for stuff. And she was the first person that I ever told that I struggled to do the work. And she got every single teacher in the school to help me out. You know, I still wasn't the greatest academically, but I did improve from that because she gave me the confidence to be able to do that. So you do have a very important role as well as teachers, because like I said, that one person, because she wouldn't choose me as a captain, she did eventually when my behaviour got better, but that changed the way I viewed sport, because I always wanted to be part of a team. I seen myself as a team player, but I didn't realise my behaviour outside of PE was letting the team down when I couldn't play for the teams because I was being, you know, on report or whatever. Or so, yeah, props to you guys are very important and play an important role.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Obviously, that's really fine comments. So I'm going to wrap that up there. That's brilliant. And obviously, I'll check in with you over the next few weeks. And good luck in your fights. Cheers, Tasha.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you very much this morning.
See you soon. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.